All right, here we go again. So another view here today, but also a interesting topic that always comes up is what about fake Cubans? Why are there more and more of them? And what's the allure and how do I avoid getting one? So we're going to talk about all those things. We'll say hello here to friends. There's Waddy. He says, okay. I'm star of a video, and there's Liza. So before we do, we'll do a boot check, as I always do. These are the boots that I reviewed a separate video, got a lot of great reviews. Lucchese, combination with a clothing designer in New York City called Jaykos, Jaykos. Makes an incredible boot here. You can see there's ostrich, alligator. It's got a turquoise brown alligator belly with it. So great, not fake. Here is something fake. This is Augmer's Puget. I don't know. I tried to get the pronunciation right. Don't think I have it. Or known as an AP. It is a fake. It's a replica. And why do I have a replica? Well, because I couldn't afford the six-figure price tag on this. But kind of interesting. A friend of mine has some replicas, and I thought, all right, interesting. I'll take a stab at it. And the cigar today that I'm going to review, along with our discussion, as I pull out the humidor here, is a Cohiba La Casa del Habanos edition, which is going for about $300 a stick, from what I could tell on the internet. You can see some of my other Cuban collection there. And, I have my doubts. I think this is a fake. But I'm not altogether certain. Now, also, the Bejiques next to it, questionable. You can kind of see the label here. So this Cohiba on the left is one I got in Cuba. And you can see a little bit around the band. I don't know that it's focused in that well, but you can see the top gold and the bottom gold has the Habanos writing and logos. So does these LCDH, but the gold part is a little bit thicker, and the Cohiba marking is a little bit more pronounced on the LCDH. That's the ones with that secondary band. Now these Bejiques don't have any writing on the gold band itself, so that seriously calls those into question. But in any event, let's take a look. Sometimes you can tell by smoking. This one, the cap, it was focused in a minute. The cap's a little damaged. Came that way. I don't know. Does that mean it's a fake? Not necessarily. Could happen. You can see what I'm talking about, the writing there. But so it says Havana, Cuba. Havana, Cuba. So focus. There we go. So anyway, can't see a whole lot from that. But let's talk about it. Let's see what we think, and let's see how it smokes. And also, we'll talk about the general process of why there are so many fakes in Cuba. Waddy is getting under the table. Whoop. All right. So let me set up here. And we'll get started. So, first of all, why there's so many fake Cubans out there? Well, it's sort of the old adage, if you can't get something, the more you want it, right? So Cubans obviously are banned in the United United States and through the embargo. And so the more you keep something away, sometimes the more there is a demand. It's a supply and demand issue too. There's not as many. You can't just go into a local cigar shop and get Cubans. And there is a demand, and the demand flows out of the fact that Cuban cigars are really good. Are they definitively better than cigars in other parts of the world, Nicaragua, Dominican, Honduras? I think that's debatable. I won't get into that. I do think that as a general matter, I prefer Cuban tobacco, but I also like a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco. And some Dominican, Honduran too. But certainly Cuban tobacco is really, really good. So there's a demand because of being so good, and the embargo certainly creates a supply issue. Also, there's a mystique about it. So Cuba, being in our hemisphere here and sort of off limits, creates a mystique, right? And so people, think, all right, I want to be part of that mystique, and part of that is their cigars, so well known around the world. Why are there so many fakes? Well, I imagine it's fairly easy to fake a cigar. This is there are a lot of good rollers, and you can get them to roll a pretty good cigar, and they can take a look at what appears to be a Cuban cigar. I'm going to have a little apple cider with this, which may add some sweetness here. So they may be able to roll a pretty good fake, and then with the advent of technology being so much better, you can certainly create these labels that look pretty authentic. So while I go on that, let's light her up. So good, good pre-light draw, no construction issues apparent. The construction itself looks pretty consistent. No differences between the middle part and around the outer ring. Sometimes that's a giveaway for a machine-made cigars, that it'll be looser in the middle, tighter around the edges. This is pretty uniform. Pretty sure this is handmade. So we'll get her looks like it's pretty well ready to go. Give her 3 puffs. Well, that's disappointing. I usually charge pretty good, and usually the 3 puff method works. By the 3rd puff, you're getting a full mouthful of smoke. This one, the draw seems to have some issues. So let's light her a little more. Finally, absolutely no flavor. Very weird. I'm getting nothing. This is weird. Nothing. certainly getting some smoke, but it's incredibly light. I mean, I'm just starting to get a tinge of flavor. Now, I will say that it can be a bit of an unhealthy and sometimes even dangerous proposition to potentially smoke fake cigars, because some of the cheap fakes, they actually use like floor scraps, and you know, they'll use cigar, but then in the middle it'll be just scrappings, you know, what's on the floor, and sometimes you get bugs and hair, and you know, so I've seen reviews of that, but I trust the source I got these from, that it's a good source. I'm not saying this source is 100% authentic, but just like this watch, there are good fakes and there are bad fakes. And the bad fakes are the ones that you're going to find in Cozumel or Cabo on the beach in Mexico, and somebody's got a glass tube and the Cohiba wrapper is all funky looking, and they want to sell it to you for $5 or $10. Those are likely floor scrappings, but some of these, this label is done really well. The wrapper is pretty good. Like I said, the construction looked good. The draw is a little bit loose. So a tight draw is one where you're trying to take it in and you're not getting, you're struggling to breathe in the air intake. A loose draw is that there's too much air coming, you're not getting enough tobacco. So that's where this one lends itself a little bit. But again, I trust that this is, if at worst, a good fake, but I'm finally getting a little bit of flavor. And it's good, it's a good flavor, but it's very faint. So, anyway, we'll keep going, I'll let you know here. So anyway, why so many? Again, the supply and demand issue, we talked about that, but also then they can be relatively cheaply produced, right? I mean, you know, the tobacco and the production, you know, you're talking, you know, probably certainly less than $1 to do it. And so, you know, in a good fake, you know, you could get anywhere 10, 20, 30 more dollars a stick. So you've got a high markup versus your cost, which will lead itself to a lot of availability of fakes. The other thing is that some people are just not cigar aficionados, and so they don't know what they're smoking. So they'll smoke it for the prestige, not because they're a true everyday cigar smoker, and they don't know, and so they're satisfied with it. They think, all right, cool, I got a Cuban. So that happens a lot. But also, and the interesting thing is, and I mentioned this in some of my other videos, you can get sort of fakes in Cuba, right? Because there's a huge black market in Cuba. And that contributes to the counterfeits. And what do I mean by that? Well, the Cuban people get paid so little under their system that they have to have a black market to survive, to really make ends meet. And you know, anytime the government runs sort of everything, there's a lot of corruption, and so there can be that element there where there's going to be people that are going to make cigars on the side, either in the factories or outside of the factories, and market them as the real thing because they need to make ends meet. And there's a lot of people coming to Cuba that want the cigars and don't want to pay the price at the cigar shops. And there are fakes in the cigar shops in Cuba. Because the people that are working in those cigar shops, they also need to participate in the black market to make ends meet. And so they will get cigars that are made in the factory that may not be the ones that you would say are the legit. They may be the same exact thing, but they're not made to go in those boxes to be sold at the shops. There's some underworld activity going on there. Because, again, those folks in the shop, so those are the ones that are not in the sealed boxes, and they'll sell those to you in the cigar shops, and they'll make you deals on those because they're not the real thing that went into the sealed boxes. Now, are they as good? Maybe. Some are, some aren't. So, a lot of, and now even more so, the prices of Cuban cigars is astronomical. Like I said, this one online is going for like $300 a stick. Crazy price, especially the Cohibas. This is because the Chinese have got involved with taking majority ownership in the Novedosos Corporation, which is the distributor for Cuban cigars, and so prices have gone way up. There's a big market in China. There's also a big market in Europe, and so they're taking advantage of it, and they're pushing it. They're pushing the prices to see how high they can go and still sell. And so that's creating a market where these, if you go to Cuba, the cigar may be in the shop $100 or maybe even more, which is a crazy price. So then by the time the legitimate one gets to the markets in Europe where they can resell them, and after you have the tariffs and everything else on it and the markups because of the demand, that's why they're asking $300 a cigar. So that certainly adds to the profitability of fakes. And so then you've got ones like this. Now, typically, see, this cigar's out already. There's definitely something wrong with this. Typically, you have, typically I go to Havana. So that was my way of sort of avoiding the fakes that I would get in the United States. I figured out, and I've got videos on how you can legally go and travel to Havana, no problem. So I started doing that, but again, then I found out there are some not authentic ones that you can get in the store there, and I've had some that are really good. So I don't buy them off the street. I think that's a little questionable, but I've got my folks there, and sometimes I'll go in the stores and buy them too. So that's one way to do it, and so normally that I go to Cuba, I know what I'm getting, generally speaking. But I also have a source here in the States that gets some who I believe are certainly fakes, but some of them are really good, and some of them I think they were legitimate. So I don't know, because it's just the way they smoked and the bands and everything. They were great cigars. So I typically don't get many there because I can go to Cuba myself and get them, but my friend had some of these are kind of rare, the Casa de Habanos, Cohibas. So I said, all right, let me try a couple. This is the first one I've smoked. Again, very disappointing. So what I'm going to do, if you've watched this long, I'm going to treat you to, we're going to destroy this cigar. All right, I'm going to try to light it, see if there's any redeeming value. Again, really hard to light. I mean, no. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trash this cigar. We're going to open it up. We're going to see what it looks like inside. See if it's got any floor scraps. See if there's anything noticeable in there. But before I do that, just in case, I don't usually drink apple cider. There's an apple farm here that had some, so it's pretty strong. So just in case that I'm not throwing off my taste buds, I'm going to pull another cigar out and just see, just to make sure that my taste buds aren't off. So let's grab one. So what I'm going to get is one of these Partagas number 4, which I personally went to Cuba and got myself. So I know this is a legit cigar. Again, is it a counterfeit from Cuba? Gosh, focus please. I don't know. I don't think so. Could be, but I know they're really good. Sorry about the focusing. My goodness. Say. Doesn't like the lighting in here, but there you see it. All right. Partagas Series D number 4. Lighting's bad right now, so. Anyway, let's set this back up. Yeah, I'm going to light this and just see, just to make sure, again, it's not an issue with my taste buds, and hopefully I get some flavor. Usually these Partagas number 4s are pretty strong, so no issues with the cap on this one. Pre-draw seems good. Let's fire her up, and then we're going to take apart that $300 Cohiba LCDH. So here's, again, the way I light it, kind of char it, get it evenly smoldering there on the end. And typically 3 puffs and you should be good to go. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Right away. Excellent flavor. You can tell. Perfect draw, nice strength, cocoa, some creaminess. Good cigar. This one, crap. Hard to believe. Well, let's rip it apart. Let's see what we got. Let's go outside. There's going to be better light. And we're going to rip this baby apart. Got a tree down out here. That's a problem. Big storm last night. So obviously I'm avoiding doing anything with that right now and smoking a cigar. We'll deal with that later. All right, let's find a spot, and let's see. All right, so here we have it. Again, everything looks legit, but obviously it smokes terrible. So I'm going to set it right here. Hopefully we get a good, it's going to focus on that pot. There's not too many other things. So, all right, so how do we do this? Well, Obviously, we're going to remove the labels. It came off probably too easy. And there's our label. Looks pretty legit. I don't know what the 5560 is there, but anyway, that's the label. And what we do to get this apart, you gotta kind of squeeze her here a little bit, get a crack, and then we see where that leaf is. That didn't do it. Sometimes you can take off the cap area, but I'm going to squeeze a little more. See if I can get to where the outer leaf is. If not, it's going to start peeling. So normally you would get, you kind of see where that leaf, but again, it's like a double wrap there. So normally I'd be able to pull that. Maybe. Seems like a weird construction. Alright, so weird. Normally that wrapper would just come right off. But again, either and it's like a double wrapper. You see it? See, there's a top, then a second layer. Boy, I'm going to be really pissed if I'm smoking table scraps. Alright, so here we go. So we got sort of, there's a full leaf there. Leaf looks okay. And here we go. Oh boy. So, yeah, alright, full leaf. What do we got here? We got another full leaf, or do we got scrap? Sort of, that's not a full leaf. It's like a partial leaf. Oh boy. We got smaller. You got some full leaves there. There's a full leaf. And, so, I don't know. I mean, it's the construction inside. I didn't see any rat hairs or floor scrappings, but definitely you got some smaller leaves there. So, Waddy, get out of there. Waddy, come on. Stay out of that tree. You don't know. Gotta fix it. All right. Well, let's get back to the legitimate one here. How annoying. And see, we're smoking. I put it down, and I didn't have to relight, like, you know, that Cohiba. I mean, I put it down for like a minute while I was talking, and I had to relight. And that was after a lot of lighting. So anyway, there you have it. That's another drawback of getting fake cigars. You may get one that's crap, like that one. So, well, that was a different experience than I thought it was going to be. Hope you got something out of it. Take care, and we'll see you next time.